No, I'm not saying it proves
Okay,
evolution at all.
But
There's a misconception. So I am not an evolutionary biologist. I am not qualified to debate you on most of the issues you put up there. One thing that you guys may not know, okay, is that evolutionary biology is basically the fabric of biological sciences. So many of us, while we're not studying, we're not experts in geology or asking ourselves how animals evolved, we use the relatedness between animals to make discoveries. And in my case, for example, I study something called innate immunity. And it's a very ancient type of immune system, and it actually exists in animals such as fruit flies and in animals such as us. And what I have found in looking at the genome of these animals is that there's a conserved, what we call a regulatory signature. I've been able to find this in the fruit fly, and now I'm going to use this information to probe the human genome to look for immunity genes and to understand how that works. And do you know why? To help human health.
That's why. I'm proud of you. Now listen. You are missing the entire point. If there are similarities between humans and fruit flies,
yes,
that might prove the same guy designed them.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
I agree with you. So I want to now point out that one of the flyers we have discusses one such scientist. He was one of the heads of the Human Genome Project. You may know of him. His name is Dr. Francis Collins.
I've never met him. I've heard of him.
Okay, so Dr. Collins was the head of the Genome Project. He's both an MD and a PhD. And Dr. Collins is also a Christian. Okay? So actually there are many scientists who are Christians and also embrace evolution. What Dr. Collins says is that if God decided to use the mechanism of evolution to create human beings,
you look nervous.
To say that was a bad thing to do it.
It's okay.
You know why I'm nervous? Because I don't have the rhetorical skills that you do.
No. I am winning this argument because I'm right.
No, I certain people here for a very unfortunate reason, which is that they have not been really exposed to the truths of evolutionary biology.
Okay.
And I think that the way to be exposed to those truths is to actually take a course in it, which you can do here.
Calm down. Next question. But let me translate that for you folks, in case you didn't catch what she just said. Okay. What she just implied was, if you don't believe in evolution, you're dumb. You haven't studied this enough to know the truth. How many caught that? How many caught that tonight? Okay. Repeat your last statement then. Listen carefully. Repeat your last statement. You said.
Have it on your tape?
You got it on tape. You said, I'm winning the argument with some people here tonight.
You did. That's right.
I'm winning the argument with some people here tonight because they have had the unfortunate position for something.
I think it was unfair to say you were winning the argument here tonight, and actually you said you were winning the argument with me. So I'd like to ask, who thinks that I'm winning the argument?
What? Okay. Now, who thinks she is losing the argument? It's irrelevant. I'm not here.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. But you... And if you do have a heart attack, I do know CPR. I'll be glad to help you. Go ahead.
All right. My name is Neil. I'm from SF State. I'm an international relations major.
International relations. Neil?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, Neil. Go ahead.
So in the first part of your presentation, you talked a lot about the lies that are in the textbooks.
Correct.
And
most of my presentation tonight was simply, these are lies in the textbooks, take them out. Right.
Okay. And so you're constraining the argument mostly to talking about those lies. And
well, since I am paying for these lies to be taught, and I think most people resent lies being taught at taxpayer expense. That's the whole point tonight.
Okay. Now, in your presentation, later, you talked about the vestigial organs in whales, and...
there are no vestigial organs in whales.
Right.
Some people are teaching there are. Is that book teaching there are vestigial whale pelvis? Look up whale pelvis. Just look up vestigial.
All right, so I'm going to complete the question that I'm going to ask, and then you're going to respond to it.
Well, if it's a real long question, I want to do it in pieces, because I'll forget, okay? I'm on Florida time. I should be in bed 2 hours ago. Go ahead.
All right. So, after you said that, besides if they lost their legs, that's the opposite of evolution.
If the whale has a vestigial pelvis, and that is supposed to be evidence of it losing legs, that is not an helpful example for evolution, that would still be counterproductive.
Right. Now, so you're defining evolution then as what? As
well, the evolutionist would say we started from a single-celled organism which has no legs and slowly developed legs. Somewhere along the line, legs had to develop.
right, but evolution is a process of moving from less adapted organisms to more adapted organisms.
Is that your definition of evolution?
That is the definition of evolution.
Okay, moving from less adapted to more adapted.
Organisms, yes.
Organisms, okay, that's your definition. Go ahead.
Right. So a whale that would be on land and becomes an aquatic mammal and then loses its legs, would you say that's a more adapted or less adapted animal to the aquatic environment?
A whale that moves on land or moves off land and loses its legs, I would say...
I'm saying an organism, okay.
An organism.
All right.
Okay.
So let's say sea lions right now.
Sea lions, we're back.
Okay.
Well, what happened to the whales? They were
This is irrelevant. I'm using an example here of an organism that moves into the water.
An organism moves into the water, like a sea lion.
Right. And loses its legs and gains in replacement for flippers.
Okay. An organism, I would say that an example of an organism that moves into the water and loses its legs and replaces them with flippers is an example of a fairy tale, not an example of something we observe. You can believe that if you want, but there's no evidence.
All right, but that's not the question that I'm addressing.
Okay.
Because you're saying if that happened, that's the opposite of evolution.
Yeah.
And evolution having an opposite is a profound misunderstanding of the evolutionary theory. And you put it in your PowerPoint presentation, and it's a lie.
No, listen. The example I gave was, the textbook says, the whale has a vestigial pelvis, and the definition of vestigial is it doesn't need it anymore.
But then you said, besides, if they lost their legs, that is the opposite of evolution.
That's correct. That is
now,
losing something.
Either you're ignorant of evolutionary theory, or you're telling a lie.
Do you believe the whale evolved from a land-dwelling creature, like a cow, like the folks at the National Center for Science Education believe?
Yes, I do. I mean, you can.
I showed you their brochure from Bossy to Blowhole. That's a cow to a whale, okay?
I'm not saying that I particularly believe that it's a cow, but I believe that it
You believe it was a land-dwelling animal that
Yes.
turned into a whale. Okay. Do you realize that whales have their nose on the top of their head?
Yes.
Okay, and most animals on land have their nose on the front of their
Right.
head.
And there is, in fact, a fossil record that shows the movement of the blowhole from the nose to the top of the head.
If somebody taught you that, and you paid to get taught that, they stole your money from you, son. Okay? The whale. Okay.
I couldn't find the whale under vestigial organs, but I did find on page 439 about the snake that it had quote-unquote hind legs, or remnants of hind legs, vestigial organs. It's a very brief paragraph. So, okay.
It is the same example, though, of losing instead of gaining. And if you think the whale came from a land-based animal and went back into the water, okay, that's what you think, right? And lost whatever, and gained whatever needed, and lost whatever needed. Because there's a lot of differences between most land-based mammals and a whale. A lot of differences, okay? I am not aware of any land-based mammals that have the same type of feeding system for their young that whales do, where they actually squirt the milk in. Most land-based animals have to suck on the milk. The whale actually squirts it into the baby's mouth.
That's what we would call an adaptation.
That's an adaptation. No, I would say that was designed, okay? Now, if you want to believe it's an adaptation, you can believe that, but you just left science and went to religion. And this is what you're not seeing, okay? Here we go.
All right.
Bossy to Blowhole. Folks, and maybe I'm not getting this, but were they teaching at one time that the cow evolved to the whale? Am I getting? How many are saying that?
No.
How many are saying that? Oh, nobody's saying that. Okay, maybe I'm getting something wrong here. Now, let's see.